Welcome my friends to my Python classes. In this video we are going to discuss about the control statements in Python and how to make small programs where we are going to use some conditional statements, and based on those conditional statements the program itself will decide which block of code needs to be executed and which needs to be skipped. Now before we start this video, if this is the first video that you are viewing in my channel, I request all of you to go and watch all the videos that are uploaded in this channel, because we have discussed many things so far, and to understand these classes with complete grip you need to know what we have discussed in the previous videos. With that, I would also request all of you to comment your doubts, your queries, and also put in comments what you exactly need in my videos to be discussed. So as you can see, I have already written the first program's purpose. What we need to do is we need to accept a whole number and check whether the whole number is odd or even. So we have written write a program. This is a very handy word, WAP, which stands for write a program. Those who are very new to programming, for them it is going to be a new thing to learn. Now write a program to check whether the accepted whole number is odd or even. Now my friends, those who are doing programming for the first time, for you I would tell you that there is a particular way in which we can check whether a number can completely divide the other number or not. And for that there is one operator called modulus. Now this modulus operator is denoted by the general symbol what we use for denoting percentage. And if I put A modulus B, then in that case I will be obtaining the remainder after dividing A by B. If I simply write A slash B, I will get the quotient after dividing the dividend A by the divisor B. But in case of modulus operator, that is the percent symbol, we are going to get the remainder. And if the remainder is 0, my friends, that means the first number is completely divisible by the second number. Now we are going to use the concept to check whether the number is divisible by 2 or not. We are going to take the number, we will be dividing the number by 2, and we will check whether the remainder is 0 or not. And if it is 0, we are going to straight away say that the number is even, and otherwise it is odd. And my friends, I will show you another way of doing the same thing without using the modulus operator also. So let us start. So I have taken the function name as check even odd, and here I'll put a colon and then I'll get inside the block. Now what we can see here is this check even odd is the name of the function, and the function is containing the statements which I'm going to write, and that is the reason I'm putting it in the inside indented stage. Now I will write A equals to int enter the whole number. Now it is just a request to the user that user puts a whole number, because if user gets a simple integer which is negative, then negative numbers we are not going to consider as even or odd in this case. So we have discussed in our previous videos, and for your ease I will be putting the links in the description. Now if you remember, we have already discussed the purpose of the function int. What it does is it takes the input which is in text type or string type and converts it to integer before storing it in the memory. Now my friends, this Python is actually an object-based system where the variables which are created, variables means those locations in memory where we can store a value which can subsequently change during the execution time of the program. Now in this case, the variable a, Python is going to consider it as an object. Now what kind of object it is going to be, that depends upon the first input value which goes and gets stored in it. So in this case, right after creating the object, we are putting an integer. So henceforth in the program, this object can only be used for storing integers. Right? Now my accepting the number has been done. Now next process is to check whether a is divisible by 2 or not. Now for that I'm going to write an if statement. Now if a %2. So what I said, this percentage symbol which we usually use in mathematics or in our day-to-day life to represent percentage, which is a value per 100. But here it is not going to mean the same. It is going to be symbolizing the operation of modulus. And here this a mod 2, I will be reading it as a mod 2 or a modulus 2, is going to give me the remainder after dividing a by 2. Now what I will need to do is I need to check, I need to confirm whether it is equals to 0 or not. Now it is not a typing error, my friends. Those who are doing programming for the first time, for them I must tell you that, see, in this case I have used a single equals to. Now what was this meaning? This was meaning an assignment. That means the value from the right hand side is going to always go towards the left hand side and get stored. Now if I simply write single equals to here, the Python interpreter will not be able to distinguish between the operations, because here my purpose is not to store 0 into a mod 2. Rather I am going to compare whether a mod 2 is equals to 0 or not. So in this case we will put double equals to. So double equals to is the relational operator which is going to check whether the left hand side value and right hand side value both are equal or not. Now if in this case they are equal, it is going to result true, and if it is true, it is going to execute the block immediately after it. So now in this case what do I need to do is I need to print even. Now I don't have anything to do other than printing even if it is true. Now if it is false, then what to do? That means if the remainder after dividing a by 2 is not 0, then in that case I will write another keyword which is else. So it goes like, it sounds like, if this happens, do or print even, otherwise. This else is substituting the otherwise in our general communication English. Otherwise print odd. The program is done. Now what I'm going to now next do is I'll be just running it, and then it will confirm whether this works or not. Now 45 is an odd number. That means after reading it, when it is going to check 45 modulus 2 is equals to 0 or not, it is going to be false. And if it is false, what will get executed? The block which is immediately after else. So it is going to print you odd. In a similar way, if I put 34, which is an even number, what will happen? If 34 mod 2 is equals to 0, yes, it is equals to 0. So if it is true, it is going to go immediately to the next statement which is following it. So this time it's going to give me even. So this is how we write small, simple programs. I will give you one more way of doing the same thing. without using modulus operator, if I need to do it, what shall I do? First, I'm going to write it, then I'll explain it. Then let us confirm whether this gives me the same result or not. Odd. Once more if I run it. Even. That means it is confirming that this logic is also correct. Now what I have done here? I have taken the value of A. Now I have just divided it. Just divided it means if the number is divided by 2, it is this time going to give you the quotient. So now let us consider that user has given 45. Now if I divide 45 by 2, it is going to give me 22.5. Exact value will be 22.5. But here in this case, what is going to happen? This A divided by 2, again the same value is going to come, that is 22.5, will not be treated as 22.5 because here I am typecasting it. Typecasting it means converting that value forcefully to some other type of value. And what is that value? That is integer type. That means 22.5 will be considered as 22 by truncating that decimal point and the residual part. So from 22.5, decimal point and 5 will be removed and it is going to just consider 22. That is the whole part of it. So now is 22.5 equals to 22? No. So for all odd numbers we are going to get 0.5, whereas after ignoring 0.5 we will not get the same value. So it is never going to show us even. So it will always fail with all odd numbers and it will show odd number. Now if we take 34, in this case what is going to be the output? 34 divided by 2 is 17.0 and here 17.0 converted to integer will give us 17. So by the value 17.0 and 17 are same. So they are going to satisfy and it will print even. So one program can be written in many ways. So you can work out like this. You can take such small programs like where you will be accepting a number and check whether it is greater than some value or not. Like say you have taken the marks of 3 subjects, you have added them together, you have found the average and then based on the average percentage, if the average percentage is say greater than 33 or equals to 33, it is passing. Otherwise, if it is less than 33, it is failing. So those type of small programs you can try so that you can get hand-on experience of using the IDE and using the indentation, using small statements, because in upcoming videos we are going to get to a higher level of coding where we will be talking about more critical and typical logical problem solving systems. Now I will show you another program which is going to be using if and else, but not simply 2 branches. That means say for example here to it is, if it is divisible by 2 it is even, if it is not divisible by 2 it is odd. But say for example if you have taken a number, this time an integer, and then you have to check whether the integer is positive, negative or it is neutral, that is 0. So for checking that we need to have 3 different branches. That means if the value is greater than 0 it is positive, if it is smaller than 0 it is negative. Now if it is neither greater nor smaller, then in that case it is exactly 0. So we are requiring 3 branches here. So whenever we need to exceed 2 branches, then what we need to do, that now I am going to show you. So this next program is write a program to accept an integer and display whether it is positive, negative, or 0. So on a very simple example we are going to now work on. So what I will do, I'll be copying the same program, but I will make certain changes. So how to copy? You just click on any line of that current statement block and then press enter. The whole thing is going to get copied. Now shall I write check even odd? No, this name should be check. Say I have taken a symbolic name, sign. Now I've taken the input. In this case, what shall I write? I should write if A is greater than 0, then what to print? Positive. Now there is one more keyword which we need to learn, which is elif. Now what is the meaning of elif? Elif is used where you have a condition which is not satisfying and you are giving another condition which is going to be considered for the next check. So what I have to do now is I'll write if A smaller than 0, then in that case what am I going to do is I'll write negative. And now it is going to be 0. So in this case what is happening? You are taking the input, you are checking. If the number is greater than 0, you are printing positive. Now say if the number is not greater than 0, then will it satisfy? No, it will go to the next condition, and this next condition is going to be A less than 0. So is it less than 0? Now if it is less than 0, it will print this and will jump out. But say for example, if you user have given 0, now in that case this will not satisfy because 0 is not greater than 0. So it is going to come down to this. Now here another condition is there, that is also not satisfying. So it is going to jump out to else. Now else is a block which we have seen, we use it in place of, like in a communicative English we say otherwise. So otherwise means if the first or the previous things are not satisfying, then in that case you have to consider this statement. That means else is not going to come into any condition, but it is going to be satisfying if all previous things are not satisfying. That means it is going to execute only when the values are going to make the system disagree with all previous conditions. Now my program is done. Now we are going to check whether the program is working fine or not. So I'll write check sign. Now I'll be putting 4. 4 is a positive number, so I will expect 4 is greater than 0, so it's going to print positive. So I printed positive. Now again once more I'll put say minus 78. It is negative, so it's going to print negative. Now once more I will put another number. I will try 0 this time, so it is exactly 0. So this is how we are going to write if else block, where only 2 outputs can be there, and if more than 2 outputs are there and out of that you have to pick any one based on the situation, then you have to use the keyword elif. So elif is basically the abbreviated form of else if. That means if the previous condition is not satisfied, then you commit, and then if the given condition is satisfying, then execute it. So this is how we can make simple programs. So this way, keep practicing more and more programs and keep exploring new things and enjoy coding. So happy coding, my friends. Thank you.